Welcome back to Are We Clear Yet? We're seeking clarity through dialogue is how we move. I'm in the place to be with you guys. Al and Dub, how are you feeling, brothers?
Heyo.
Yo.
What's up?
In the building.
Clearly, we're in a very NFL type mood with our apparel choices. You know, Dub, the only cool orange is down in South Florida. You do know that, right? Or not? You know that, right? You're outnumbered right now, by the way.
Yeah, I am. It's hard though. It's hard to say that that's the coolest orange when that orange has not bought a Super Bowl trophy there in over 50 years. I don't know if either of you are alive the last time the Dolphins won the Super Bowl, but thank the sports god and of course God himself, the real God. You know, I've gotten a chance to witness 3, including 2 by this guy right here, Steve Atwater, my favorite Bronco of all time. Mr. Steve Atwater, representing today's pod, United in Orange. That used to be our slogan, but now it's the climb continues because we're climbing with Bo Nix. Watch out.
Climb. Y'all can't get any higher. Don't y'all have like the high elevation thing already? Where you going? You can't go nowhere. Climb higher. Man,
Hey,
get out of here.
hey, watch out for us. Hey, you heard it here first. Go bet the Broncos Super Bowl 60 champions. Go bet them now.
Stop. So there's a word of the day for me, disputatious, and it fits because it's someone who likes to argue. It fits. Yeah.
Well, I hear the word dispute in the word there, so I guess that makes sense.
Yes. So the root there is the dispute, different opinions. But this is just my word. People just today like to argue. Everybody wants to be right. Nobody wants to see another perspective. So we're going to leave that right there. That Super Bowl thing ain't coming through, bro. I'm not wasting my money on that bet.
Wow.
Everyone has their truth.
Okay.
My truth.
Okay.
My truth. Yeah, it's your truth and then the truth. I know the difference. I know the difference between the two. I definitely know the difference, but we'll see.
It's a lot of narratives out there flowing right now. So, we're going to leave it right there. But Mr. Dino, what's going on, brother? How you feeling?
I'm good, man. And shout out to Von Miller, man, who the catalyst for that
That's
last
my guy. That's my guy. Yeah.
That joker was a beast that game.
I
was just playing back in my mind. I'm like, wasn't that first snap?
Listen,
it wasn't the first snap. It was the first
series,
quarter, and we killed the dab that day. The dab was no more after that day.
Literally. Yeah.
Old Cam ain't been the same.
Nope.
But I'm feeling good, man. Especially since I could look forward and see that beautiful sea animal, that ocean animal that we know as the dolphin. Such a beautiful animal, maybe the most beautiful animal in the world, one could say, the Miami Dolphins. So I'm excited to see that, but then I immediately get sad because I remember our roster, and then my mood suddenly falls to the floor. But I'm hanging in. I'm hanging in there. So I'm feeling all right, man. And you good? I see the Top Gun. Man, that's one of the most awesome franchises. I mean, it's only like 2 movies. But like I've seen that second one like a good 3 or 4 times.
Yes, sir.
For different reasons. Shout out to Tom Cruise. I think we're getting another Mission Impossible, aren't we? The final one?
I believe.
The final one.
Because I just saw the trailer.
Yes.
When I saw, what did I just see?
Captain America,
yeah.
Nice.
That trailer was solid. Yeah, there was some good trailers out there.
I think
also shout out to Dub Reviews, letting everyone know what's going on the big silver screen. Big shout out to our first sponsor, Dub Reviews. No, I'm just kidding. Let's make
Dub Reviews. Let's go.
Yeah,
Tom's got to be one of the top actors of all time, man. That dude, he's solid.
He can run. I mean, every movie, Mission Impossible,
he's running.
Or he got that sprint, and he does a lot of his own stunt work. Let me tell you, I think that's going to be the 8th Mission Impossible movie, and they just got better as they got along.
Yeah,
so
which almost never happens in franchises.
Yeah.
See Blade. Anyway, because that first Blade, I'm like, look at this, look how great this is, you guys. Freaking
and
Blade,
then it just went
Trinity and Blade.
It went downhill from
second Blade.
Some mother effers always trying to escape uphill. I think that was a tagline for that one.
Man,
expeditiously.
I'm just getting upset thinking about Blade now. Sorry. Okay, back to the show. ladies and gentlemen. So, guys, we were talking recently about dating and, what the experience is like. And we kind of landed on how it tends to be in the beginning, that very, very, very early get to know you stage. Do y'all think that there's almost like a high you get like in those early stages when you meet someone and you're learning about them and they're smiling at you, you're smiling at them? Like, what's going on in those early stages? I don't know if I can even describe it. It's awesome though. And like, if you could just capture it in a bottle and just keep it forever, it'd be the greatest thing ever. What's going on in that early stage, you would say? What is that?
Lead off man again. So what is it? It's I'll save the word I'm thinking about. But yes, those early stages are immaculate. They're great. Like you said, the butterflies are there. Or I don't know, you may be at a stage now where there are no butterflies, but the interest is there. There is a lot of communication.
Mm-hmm.
As you're getting to know each other, it's going out with this person and seeing what they like, seeing what they don't like, seeing if the things that they're telling you, you can rock with, or if you can make a decision to go ahead and nip it in the bud.
Mm.
But the word I'm looking for, I'm thinking about is new. And I think that's what is fueling, or what fuels that I would say honeymoon phase is just the newness of it. Whether it's a change from what you're used to, whether you've been single for a very long time, or maybe you jumping into something after a short layoff or whatever the case may be, or in a situation where I'm hoping it's not the case, you might be currently involved with somebody. You still get this feeling with somebody else because of that word. Yeah, oops. Because of that word. You. Because let me tell you something, as a society, we like new things. If we new cars, new houses, heck, a new laptop, new shoes, a new bottle of cologne, a new bottle of perfume. We just like new. And so I think something new, which I think is a movie from Our Baby, and I say our, Dean, because I am willing to share it. Yes and no. Yeah, something new. I think that's what fuels that feeling in the beginning.
So I've got a 3-year-old, and every time I buy her something, her initial response is always, wow. She takes it, she's enamored by it, she plays with it, and literally 20 minutes later, it's a forgotten toy or a forgotten item. And I'm like, it sounds like it's synonymous with kind of what we're talking about here, where there needs to be a way to perpetuate or offer some kind of sustainability, continuance of said newness or feeling. How do we do that? What can we do?
One of the first things, it's probably what I always lead off with, and all things, and how I approach all things is mindset. Because the funny thing about it is that although it's new, it's not new. I mean, the person is different, but we interact with people every day. We interact with people of the same gender, of opposite gender, same age, older, younger, so on and so forth. But it's interesting how when a new individual, a new personality with their own lived experiences and all that comes into the picture, and they become a consistent part of your day-to-day. And that kind of flush of newness the word that we're using here, it's almost like a drug. It's almost like a dopamine hit. It's influx of energy and excitement. And you're wondering, man, I love this. And you're also probably hopefully wondering, how can I keep this? And will this go away after an argument? Will this go away if maybe we land on a subject that we don't agree on, which is inevitable? But we start thinking about almost simultaneously, is this going to last? Is this going to go away? Well, what can I do to keep the freshness of it? What can I do to keep the excitement of it? I don't have an answer. I suppose the first thing that I think about is strengthening what we kind of already have already. So, whether it's a 1 week in, few weeks in, considering the other person and not considering myself all the time. Obviously, you should care about yourself. But when you're engaging in something new with someone, I'll definitely put an emphasis on, all right, she's given me all this experience about where she's been, what she likes, what she dislikes, what makes her laugh, all these types of things. Let me make sure that I'm not forgetting it. Let me see how I could also maybe share some of my experiences and some of the things on my mind and keep that exchange going, keep that fire going, because that's probably one easy way to lose it is to get overly comfortable. And I'm thinking, well, I don't want to get overly comfortable. I want to make sure that I'm contributing on a reciprocal level, which can be tough sometimes because sometimes you just kind of run out of things to say. That's, you know what I mean?
But for me, the euphoria aspect of it, which is the newness and this whole grand feeling, the glow, like it just seems like if you lose that, then you lose the efficacy or the effectiveness of that relationship. The focus going in then needs to be one of some type of maintenance. I don't know. I've heard it said where I've had a friend of mine say to me, he probably has 12 relationships in a year because the newness wears off. So I've got to go try something else with someone else. And so we keep going. How do you, minimize that, maximize that relationship that has that new toy, new concept, new feeling? How do you
find the connection? How do you find the connection that's going to continue to supply with both people need over the course of time? That is the quandary, I imagine.
I mean, listen, again, as humans, I would say that most humans don't like monotony. Mm-hmm. I think we just kind of deal with it in situations where we have to deal with it. You may have a career that is just the same thing day after day after day. And if you don't like it, you're in a great place if you can say you love your job and you love what you do every day. But some people don't. And for security reasons, they deal with it. For security reasons, they don't go and find a new job. But guess what? People also like new jobs. And so it's very, very, very difficult, I would say, to just bottle up that new feeling and keep that with you as the years and years and years go on. So, I liken this to, is it possible? I mean, you've had people married 40 years, 50 years, 60 years. I'm sure it's possible. But is it probable? And you go to Universal, right? You guys ever been to Universal Studios and been on that Spider-Man ride?
Yes.
Maybe,
yeah. That Spider-Man ride, when it first came out, oh man, it was great.
Fire.
But even now, it's old. But you get on it and it still holds up pretty well. And so, but I don't know if it's the same feeling as the first time you waited 2 hours in line to jump on that ride. So I don't know. It's again, it's that dopamine hit of, again, just learning someone new. Those phone conversations and those 2 hour phone conversations with someone new. For those of you who are talking on the phone that long, again, and learning these things that you won't forget. The excitement of having a new set of lips to kiss, the top and the bottom. I mean, it's, how do you maintain that? I mean, how do you maintain that 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, where I feel like a lot of relationships / marriages, they start to enter the stage where it's you're just kind of going through the motions.
Mm-hmm.
Only you could have put that the way you put it. I don't know if anyone else could have characterized that the way you did. But let me say this. I think that's the thing. You said something. Are you trying to maintain the same feeling? Because that's what keeps a crackhead, because they keep going back for that initial hit. I think, though, the reality is it's not so much getting that same feeling, because after a while, that same feeling, too, becomes boring. But it's maintenance of a feeling that keeps it new. So it may not be that this is how I felt the first time I met you, but I can build on that feeling. And now we've done this. And I can say, based on what we're doing and what we've done, I feel this much better. And I could kind of, parlay that into making the feeling that I have for you keep a high enough level. Just like your car. I think you buy a car in 2020. It's a 2020. In 2025, if you got a new paint job, if you got an engine overhaul, if you did the seats over, you've essentially gotten a new car, but it's not a new car. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That car that you had that you were so in love with in 2020, you can find love for it again because you've upgraded some things and you can make it, you know, what you want it to be. It won't be that car when you first pulled it off the lot. But I think the maintenance that you're doing will help you to kind of have a respect for that particular car.
Are you saying we should refurbish the people that we're with and do some?
I'm not advocating for BBLs or nothing like that. I'm saying though, like everything in life, man, like if it just requires some maintenance, you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, you know, after a while, you open the door long enough, you know, the engine starts squeaking. You got to spray some WD-40 on that. You know what I mean? You got to figure if you ain't got WD-40 cooking oil, whatever it takes to kind of keep that oomph, that burst, that euphoria, that, you know, hey man, let's make it, you know?
Because I mean, you don't want to pop the balloon prematurely.
Absolutely not, literally and figuratively. Because you pop prematurely, it's just a problem.
You know, you might miss out on something really special if you pop
Absolutely.
that balloon too early.
Absolutely.
Going back to your car example, I mean, but if you throw a fresh paint job on it and you put fresh new tires on it, I mean, I guess I guess it is the same car.
I'll give you an example. So in a past situation, you know, I met somebody who, you know, they were going to work. It's a professional environment, but they weren't necessarily dressing professional. You know what I mean? So when they first got hired, yeah, there was excitement. But now they come back to work a year and a half later and they're busting out with their, you know, their brand new pantsuits and they're looking hot. They walk in and people are like, wow, it's the same person that left you Friday that came back Monday. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But they came in, no new presentation, and here we go. So I think there are ways to add to, you know, just to make something different than it was yesterday or just a few moments ago. And that difference could be what kind of keeps the interest heightened enough that you still feel that newness.
So, I mean, so what does that look like then? And because, I mean, we're talking about objects. So now what does that look like in a relationship or in a marriage?
Well, you know what? Not to continue the metaphors, but I've just been thinking about, you know, like trees and horticulture and all that kind of stuff, like maintaining it like an orange tree or something. I think, you know what? Put it this way. I'll just do the analysis twice at once. Decide if you like oranges, okay? If you like oranges, you should maintain and water your orange tree, okay? You just can't plant the tree and just take off and just kind of hope it all kind of works out. And you can just come back and it's going to be fine and it's going to bear fruit and be productive. And then in the same way, it's like, well, if I like her, I've decided that, you know what? I think we would be really good together. And I want to pursue this further. I got to come back to the tree. I need to come back to her, have conversation, make sure she's, you know, getting something from what I'm saying, that I'm getting something from her. You know, I'm kind of tapping into her interest base. She's tapping into my interest base. And when we hit the end on our phones, we're walking away both satisfied in a sense, but then coming back because I like oranges. So I want to come back and I want to nurture that plant, make sure it's well fed, give it what it needs. And I believe it's going to give me a return. And if it's not giving me a return, it's decision time. And in conversation, if it's just me, you know, pouring in, sharing, and then that other person isn't being reciprocal and that other person isn't receiving it, well, we got an automatic problem. And so I think is, you know, going back to the tree, going back to the conversation and inserting and pumping and contributing thoughts, emotions, sharing, going back continuously should be continuously bearing fruit. It should be paying dividends in that we're growing taller, wider. So not to abuse, you know, and the metaphors here, but that's truly what I think about. Am I getting, because at the end of the day, you know, we talked about in previous about relationships being transactional. all relationships are transactional. What I was offering is that what's being what's the part of the transaction, what makes up the transaction, and is it healthy for both people? So in theory, what I'm providing is healthy for you, what you're providing is healthy for me, and we're growing together. And as long as that's going and it's growing in a positive manner, we're going to be okay. Now, there's going to be some low seasons and that type of thing. But if we're locked in and we believe in it, we're not going to be quitters. We're not going to like fall to the wayside because, one of us had a bad day or something of that nature. So to me, that's what I think about when it comes to how do you keep it alive? How do you keep it thriving? How do you allow it to grow? How do you make it such that both of you can come back to it and you can gain something healthy from it? You know what I mean?
Pumping. That was an interesting adjective.
Pumping and inserting.
That's what she said.
But the reality is,
get my water. I'm choking. So you got to water the tree so it can grow. I'm still.
There it is.
Hey, she might be choking. I think at the end of the day, though, there has to be some kind of mutuality in the initiation of that relationship, right? So you might be thinking this is just a hit and split, and she might be thinking this long term. So that creates like some signal issues. But if you're both willing to, again, we use the GPS analogy in the last pod, and we're talking about programming, getting to the same space. If you're both getting to the same space, at some point, I think you're able to get past some of the hurdles, so you're both willing to work on it. We can do different type of dates. You may like this. I didn't like it, but I'm willing to try it. This may spark something new in our relationship. So I think it's all about, what's our intention? That's the word, the intention of the relationship. What do we want to accomplish from this? And I think that will in turn help you make some decisions on how to cultivate, going back to the horticulture analogy, but how to get to where you want to be.
Thanks for pronouncing it properly, because I completely butchered it earlier. Go ahead, Dub.
Well, I was going to say, going back to the, first of all, I thought it was very fitting that you mentioned the orange tree.
I thought about it while I was saying. I'm like, I guess I was trying to keep it Florida orange.
Yeah,
and
Florida.
I'm back.
Yes,
Yes.
By the way, I do like the orange on the Miami Hurricanes too. But anyways, moving forward.
Yes, sir. That's what we can agree.
That's right. Yeah, you mentioned, you can't just walk away from the tree and just expect it to just, you have to keep watering it. You got to take care of it. And I think that's the problem. I think a lot of people, as the years go on, they become complacent.
They check out.
Listen, whether it's mentally, emotionally, whatever the case may be, people get complacent. And so the complacency thing is what crushes that whole feeling of newness, because people are getting complacent because it's just becoming run of the mill. So, and the thing is, a lot of people are struggling with this because, listen, there are a lot of people right now out there in the dating world that is just, they're having problems finding that match. And even when they find that match, they're having problems keeping that match. We all know what the divorce rate is for marriage. It's 50% or higher.
It's high.
So, what is it? Again, they keep saying you have to find ways, right, to keep it new. How many ways are there? Do those ways work for everybody? Do you run out of new ways in 20 years, in 30 years, in 40 years, and just make a decision that, hey, we've run out of new ideas, but I love this person and I have 20 years invested, so we're just going to ride this thing out until God calls us home. So like, but is it truly, truly that new feeling that you got in the beginning?
But I think for the most part, most of the relationships today, they start off from some of these dating opportunities on whether apps, social media, whatever the case might be. And I think they're just really a hookup for the most part. So there's a lot of excitement in the hookup. So we're talking about those, and you could get newness all the time, right? But if we're talking about two people actually having some type of desire to want to forge ahead and develop some type of relation, then the reality is it's just going to take work. It isn't the responsibility of one of the two people. Both people have to put the work in, because if they don't, it's going to go downhill quick. It's going to be a mile high crumble quick. You like what we did there?
Yeah, he liked it.
Yeah.
I don't know what I just did to my chair, y'all.
Yeah. That's all good.
I think I hit a button or something.
But it's on the real, man. Like, we fellas, man. We walking down the street, you meet a girl. I mean, something about her intrigued you, and it wasn't her mind. And you develop something that dopamine connection hits, and you're like, I need to talk to this one. Now, if it's just that, then it's obviously that newness is just for that, right? But if when you meet her and then you begin to talk to her and then you're intrigued by the mind, you're inspired by what she has to say, her thought process, and then it becomes more than just the physical, then I think those things help with the maintenance.
I would agree. Baseline question to yourself, because at the end of the day, you have to talk to yourself, not like a crazy person, but you have to talk to yourself and really be honest with yourself. What do I want from this person? What am I seeking? What am I desiring? Is it good for me? Are these good things to seek and desire? And if once you come and you land on, you've had some conversation with the person, so on and so forth, there's gotta be, and this kind of comes out in counseling, from what I've been told, lots and lots of counseling, if needed, core values and life goals, which life goals can be a part of core values. And once you're dug in with those things, it should really lay the map. There's not going to be any perfect maps or any perfect paths or anything of that nature. But those core values should allow the two people to develop where this thing is going. And so, hey, you know what? In 5 years, I would love if we're able to do this. In 15 years, I'd love if we were able to do this. That gives two people something to strive for, something to aim towards. You have a direction that you're both moving in. So shared direction, shared values, shared goals, and you can have obviously individual goals for your own self along the way. Maybe you want to lose weight. Maybe you want to, whatever the case may be, get promotions at work, and that other person's rooting for you, and you can get a lot of joy in that as well. But I'm thinking about the shared values and the life goals, having increments, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years. Obviously, you're not knocking all those things out when you first meet the person. But if you're paying attention, what I found is the person will kind of key you in on some passions and some aspirations pretty early on. And those things are probably going to be tied to more long-term goals and aspirations. And honestly, I really do think, sometimes it sounds a little pie in the sky, but I really do believe that those are ways you can kind of keep that fire going, keep the logs in the fire, because you started, and you may have tweaked it along the way, but you started with these goals and these aspirations and these passions and these values, and you're still kind of chasing them. And hopefully, along the way, chasing each other too. You know what I'm saying? So, it can't be business all the time now. Is my mic working? Hello? No, I'm just...
Yeah, it's working. I'm trying to figure out if that was the third sexual innuendo for this pod, or was that 2.5?
Been more than 3, bro.
Oh, it's been more than 3? Okay, I have been paying attention then. That's part of it too. I mean, so you can take a married couple that's been married 5 years, and they might have a different take on the bedroom stuff than a couple that's been married 25 years. When you're married 5 years, you might have the take that you would never get tired of making love to your partner. Never. And then you meet somebody that's been married 25 years, and one or both might say, oh, I can't tell you the last time we did anything.
Man, that's terrifying.
But flip it though, because there's some 5-year marriages that they can't tell you that either. And there's some 25-year marriages that they're killing it, and they're making you look like, what? Wait, what?
Like, what are y'all doing?
Yeah.
Again.
I mean, and so you can tell that they, after 25 years, you can tell that they put the work in to maintain what they needed to do to keep that relationship fire. You know what I mean? So now I've gotten 25 out of this, and I'm ready for the next 25 or whatever the case might be. Intentions, man, intentions. So we gotta be intentional. Yeah.
But guess what? I mean, the other day in one of our group chats, we were talking about Will and Jada. Jada got somebody new. Just so happened to be her son's friend.
Man.
So they're still married, but at some point,
is that what you call marriage these days?
Sorry. Listen, I don't want to exonerate or absolve Will, because I think Will had his dealings too. But at some point during their long marriage, because Will and Jada has been married for a very long time,
for sure.
At some point, they needed somebody new. They didn't just stay with themselves. So is that a way of keeping that feeling in your own marriage? Maybe not, because Will on that red table, he didn't look too happy.
I can't imagine, man, having a birthday in August. I don't know.
Her son's friend.
Of all the people in the world, like, you could have flown to Bali, man, like Morocco, Brazil. You could have found whatever, and you went for
all on. Yes, go ahead.
But to answer your question, I think those are mutually made decisions. I know there are some couples, I guess, swingers or whatever the case might be, and they believe that these are ways for them to incorporate newness in their relations. I don't know that every couple will agree to insertion.
Man, why are we not mature enough to handle this, man?
At all.
What's wrong with us, man? What's wrong with men, man?
You guys are a bunch of boys. Grow up.
For sure. But you have to be able to handle that. Somebody bringing something in, other than what you used.
You mentioned need. Is that something that they need? No, they ain't need that. At least one person wanted something that they did not possess. And then they chose to possess that, and not maybe, in a very unwise manner, simply put. And so it's a whole nother can of worms of like, hey, maybe we need to spice this up. I don't even know how we got on this subject, but maybe we need to spice this up by introducing new people. That's probably one of the craziest ideas that I've ever heard in my life. But you know what? People are doing it every day. I don't know if that's going to be anything new other than new problems. I can see that being new. So yeah, you know what? If we're looking for a new way to throw a hand grenade into our relationship, I've got it. Let's call Susan or Jake over and see how this is going to work. Yeah,
that works out.
That'll be new.
I'll tell you this. Listen, I'm with you. I mean, it's for me, it's a crazy idea, Dean. It's a crazy idea. I would never want to introduce another man into my marriage. You're crazy. Another woman, however.
But doesn't that make you a hypocrite, though?
Yes, it does. That is a double standard. It makes me a hypocrite. But no, I mean, listen, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So listen, I'm self-aware enough to know that if my wife can't have a new guy in the bedroom, I can't have a new girl in the bedroom. I'm very self-aware, and I believe in fairness. So no, I mean, it just wouldn't happen. It just wouldn't happen. But some people, they have to have that, again, that dopamine hit. And if you're doing the same 3 positions for 20 years, You
know what? You better find, from what I've been told by many married couples, actually, you better find some connection points. Just going back to that, to the vision stuff. You better have some other connection points outside the bedroom. Because come on now, let's be real. Of the 24 hours in the day, let's say you spend a solid 3 in there doing that. Okay. It's still, and that's being generous based off of, just to be honest. That's a small percentage of the day, small percentage of your week, month, year, and decade on average. If that's all you got, if that's where you're putting all your chips on, you're in trouble. You got to know you're in trouble. You got to.
Yes.
You got to.
I think it's 12.5%, man. Just real quick. I did the math. Yeah. 12% of your time doing that.
That seems a bit high. Realistically, I don't mind it, but just based off the data that kind of comes out every 5-10 years, whenever they do these polls, ain't no damn 12% of nothing going on.
12%.
I mean, you're failing, bro. You're failing at that point. Think about it. What test can you get 12% on and do well? You know what I mean? At that point, you're failing. So, but again, it's intentions though, ain't it? Because sure, you can change partners as many times as you need to feel your refreshing, your newness, whatever you're trying to feel. But the reality is if the intention is to move forward, then there has to be a different approach to how you tackle that relationship, right? I would think.
Well,
I want the newness, but if we're being honest and real, the newness is probably going to be in different forms throughout the course of the relationship. It's probably not going to come from like the same thing. The newness has got to be, number one, going back from our last episode, there has to be trust and honesty. And so I look at this grammar, terrible. I need to be someone that's sharing what's on my mind constantly. It should be, I'm not saying you got to like completely mind dump everything that's going on in your brain, because that could be a bit overwhelming, but both parties, wouldn't you say it's so critical that, you know what, if you're seeing or experiencing a lack in this, tell me somehow, with words, preferably words, clear words. Not a word salad, a word gumbo, but as clear words as possible. Complete sentences are great. You know, that's awesome. Clear thought. That will help us, you know, get somewhere. It just can't be, because we want to be solution-based people. You know what I'm saying? We're adults here. We want to be solution-based, can't talk anymore. Solution-driven. So if we're saying, you know what, man, you know what, lately we've been doing this and I haven't really been into it. What do you think about this, that, and the other? And if both parties are bold enough, bold is a word I want to land on as well. There needs to be a certain boldness, but I think that comes from trust. So if you don't really trust me, you can't really come to me with any kind of boldness, can you? You're going to keep it in. It's going to be in the back of your mind. It's going to be in the girls' chat and not to me. How helpful is that? Not very helpful, is it?
No, not at all.
I think there are a lot of girls, and maybe some guys to a smaller percentage, but who, rather than talk to you, feel better talking to their best friend. Which, like you said, like, if I have the problem, you got to come tell me. If you're not telling me, I'm going to always replicate this problem and create a bigger problem, because you'll be further annoyed by the fact that I'm still perpetuating this problem. But we haven't had that conversation. I guess that's what you're...
I think that's okay to the extent you might just need to process what's going on in your mind, because you might need to be like, hey, yo, Dean, like, man, I've been thinking this and going, am I crazy? And that might just need to be like a little process step, but it's still got to go to where it needs to go. Ideally, very promptly and quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, and just a tad bit on that one. I mean, again, to give our lovely ladies the benefit of the doubt here, sometimes they have told you and we haven't listened. So now that's why they're going to their best friend.
Absolutely.
So is it that they have directly told you? I like that, and I'll take the beating. But is it that they have told us, or they have somehow sent out some type of subliminal
and expect you to pick up
reference
on it?
Right.
Yeah.
Because there's some that
there's some that do that. Yes. Yeah. I mean, you can't read minds, but
right. So I think again, transparency and honesty and communication can open the doors to preservation of the newness. Can we say that?
Yes. You can say that. It all comes down. Doesn't everything seem to come down to communication? Not just communication, but honest communication. Because a lot of communication going on out there, brother. That this ain't it. But guess what? I would love, not to cut you, Dino, real quick, man. I would love if maybe we find a way to get a guest on the next show that's, of the other persuasion, man, a female on this thing that would be able to kind of say, hey, fellas, we see it this way. Because maybe that would give us some insight on how we should look at the approach. We will have it.
That's always welcome.
Episode 5. Let's make it happen.
That's easy. That's easy. What I was going to say is, on the other side of things is the lack of properly bringing it to the table. Unfortunately, There are instances where that's done on purpose because you want it to die. And the lack of communication being present is basically like a passive way of, I've checked out. I don't want to be there. You know, I'm not getting the newness anymore. We didn't really talk about it. We didn't really find a way to maybe revitalize or recharge. And they're out. They're checked out, which is a sad thing. But it's just something that was just crossing my mind. And that we were talking about constantly communicating, being dialed in with each other, sharing, checking in, all those types of things. And one way, you know, I could be experiencing the newness, but they may not be experiencing the newness and the freshness of it and being engaged by it, but they're not properly bringing it to the table, thus effectively letting it die.
That has to be annoying, man. Like, you got two grown people and they can't use words.
It happens.
It happens, man. And it's really sad. And it can catch either party off guard. You know, I've definitely had my share of that as well. Well, I've definitely been caught completely off guard. I've been thinking we're in a great place. You know what I'm saying? Things are going well. That doesn't mean I'm, you know, ignorant of the rough instances or maybe mishaps that have happened along the way. But I'm not thinking it, you know, there's going to be any tie severing approaching. It's kind of like you're driving down, down the street, and then all of a sudden, oncoming car. Oh, you know, you're just not really expecting it. You're expecting everyone that's going in the same direction, but then all of a sudden, there's an oncoming car, and you're panicking right away. And it's like, well, dang, I wish that could have been avoided. I wish, you know, if the other person wasn't feeling the newness, as we've been calling it, you know, during this episode, that maybe we could kind of have a sit down and a talk. It's like, where am I coming up short? Where are we coming up short? When did the newness stop? How could we get it back? But unfortunately, that doesn't always happen.
So either the car's coming or the bridge is out. So either way, something's happening up the road that's going to create a problem for you.
Again, fellas, I mean, that happens. But again, on the flip side, there are some dudes that see the bridge. We've been warned that the bridge is going to go out if these behaviors don't change. We've been warned, and we just didn't think that they were serious. And so as a wake-up call, they show us. I mean, both instances happen. There are some guys, you can't tell me that there aren't guys who aren't blindsided. You know, they know. They just didn't think she would leave. So, and then they want to pretend like they were blindsided when behind closed doors, she's been complaining about the same thing for a very long time.
I can agree with you.
I tell you what, I don't know what that's like, and if you're doing that, you're wilding.
But I also think, hey, Dino, I think a lot of times too, man, like expectations. So we go back from intentions to expectations. Like if they're not stated, or even if they're stated, but the person who stated it to you really doesn't know what they expect within the definition that they're provided to you. Sometimes you're doing what you think they're telling you they want. And because they themselves didn't really know what they wanted, they saw it on a TV show or read it in a Cracker Jack box. They really can't accept what you're doing or articulate to you that, hey, I may have said this, I didn't really mean that, but can we do this? And I think that's where it comes down to, I used to drive a stick shift, man. And every once in a while you have to downshift or neutral it out to kind of get yourself out of certain situations. I think as you're navigating these relationships, I think there's some times when you got to back off the gas a little bit, get on the brake a little bit, neutral it out and just kind of coast. There are just times when you have to mutually figure out how to get past this and how do we make this work for us. But I agree, there's signs and sometimes wonders that will get you, and you just got to figure out if we want to move forward, how we move forward, and what it's going to take to move forward. And then that presents a whole nother set of questions like, am I willing to do the work?
Yes, because it does require that W word, work. Work is not a bad thing. There's lots of benefits that come from work. You become better internally. You and the other person are better externally, but it does require the work. Yeah. the work. The newness. We love the newness. The newness is fun. Yay,
It's fun.
you know, you're jumping in the field together, you know.
Yeah.
You're doing all the things like in the movies.
Little House on the Prairie, man.
All of that. That's way before my time. I don't know anything about that.
Jason's lyric.
Jason's lyric. No, you know, you gotta plug yourself. That's how it goes sometimes. I can't think of any cool movie names with the word Dean in it. Pretty sure there are some though.
Yeah, I don't have it.
I don't know if there are any.
Yeah.
Probably not. But
That's
the
okay.
newness, it's there. It's attainable. I believe it. I'm very hopeful. Actually, I've been very hopeful this season.
As humans, though, we want the newness, man, because it gives you hope. It gives you that bit of a pump up, you know. So you want to expose your new muscles when you come from the gym. You know, you want everybody to see what you. But again, the work. You put the work in, you get the results. But I think I for one, I love the newness, but I also understand that to get to any other levels, it requires the work. So if you get that going in, then you'll find every which way to maintain the newness. And it requires both. Can we say that? It requires both.
So to put a bow on it, newness is attainable with open, honest communication and work.
And work.
It's attainable and it's sustainable. And with that, ladies and gents, thank you so much for checking us out on Are We Clear? Like, subscribe, share it, tell your friends, tell your neighbor. We out.
Peace.